students, my name is Anuja and I am from Supergrads, and today we are meeting to discuss super tricks on reading comprehension. I am sure you all understand this topic, which is a very important question type in almost all the exams that you will have to take, reading comprehension. Here you are given a passage and there are questions based on the passage, and you are supposed to answer the questions based on your understanding of the passage. Of course, the passage could be from any genre, it could be from any topic under the sun, and the questions are mainly of two types. They fall under two categories. Either they are direct questions, the information is written in the passage, or they are there to check your inferential reasoning. So, are there any methods with which we can make our understanding better? Can we read in a certain way that we understand enough to answer all sorts of questions, whatever they might be? The answer is yes. Yes, there are some super tricks to read a reading comprehension passage, and today I am going to tell you just that. So let's get started. First, I will talk to you about two kinds of readers and how you should be neither of the two. So first of all, I'll tell you about two extremes and a balanced approach, and remember that you need to have a balanced approach. You should not be on any of the extremes. So the first extreme is reading like a hunter. As you can read also behind me, I would suggest you do that. So the first approach is to read like a hunter. Now hunters go looking for a specific piece of information, and in that process they do not believe in reading the entire thing. They never read. They just hunt for answers. They look for those keywords, they look for that part, and in that way they compromise the entire understanding, because if you're skipping, if you're not reading, then it's not happening organically and you're missing the point. So don't be a hunter. The second extreme is becoming a scholar. Now, as the name tells you, a scholar would be very much into it. He would read every single part, he would pay utmost attention to details, and in that process he'll just get lost. He'll not do any skimming at all. He'll give equal importance to every single word. But the real question is every single word equally important? No, it's not. Some words are more important than others, and that is why your job is to understand how not to be a scholar. So you're neither supposed to be a hunter nor you're supposed to be a scholar. You're supposed to be a big picture reader. What do I actually mean when I say that the middle ground is a big picture reader? You're supposed to have a balanced approach. What does that mean? When you're reading a text, you're supposed to read with a bird's eye view. You're supposed to understand the bigger picture here, the bigger theme, the bigger message. You may not remember every single detail, and guess what? That's totally fine. You do not need to know every single detail. You're supposed to know what's happening here. So there is a small suggestion for you that you go slowly in the beginning, you understand the basics, and then you can speed up. So you're reading actively, but you're being efficient at the same time. Now that you have understood the kind of right approach to read, I am going to follow this by telling you a set of 7 crucial principles that will immensely help you in comprehension. They will take your reading comprehension to the next level. So I hope you're ready to understand all the 7 principles one by one. We'll begin by talking about principle number 1, which is to engage with the passage. I want you to read the line that I have highlighted first. Love it or hate it, you have to own it. You have to own the passage. You cannot understand anything if you're hating the passage, or if you're bored, or if you do not want to read. You really need to engage. You really need to pretend as if you were having an interaction with the author of the passage. If it were a dialogue going on and he's trying to explain something to you, and you have to give it all you have to understand the passage. You need to engage with the passage. That is your principle number 1. Moving on to principle number 2, you have to look for the simple story. Every passage, no matter how complicated, no matter how long, always has a simple story. If you were to tell it to a bored teenager, that is the analogy I have used, but if you were to tell it to somebody in simple terms, how would you do it? Of course, you cannot say everything because everything is not important, and if you look for the simple story, you are doing yourself a huge favor. You're understanding what is important, what is not. And I think that is the way to go about it. I've given you a tip that just use 5 to 10 words to describe the passage and you will get the simple story. So that's principle number 2. Moving on to principle number 3, link to what you already know. That's the great way. Nothing comes out of nothing, right? So what you know, you have to build on it. You have to actively imagine what the words are referring to so that you can relate to, you can use your associative memory, you can relate to the things that you already know, but just beware, do not add something from your side. You cannot put words in author's mouth. You are not here to add your own bias. You are here to read it from the eyes of the author. So try to imagine, try to link to what you already know, but do not add your own understanding. That is principle number 3. Moving on to principle number 4, unpack the beginning. Why is beginning so important? Beginning is always so important that it's considered the 50% of the task at hand. Because if you have understood the beginning, you know what to follow, what is to follow. And you would find it increasingly easier to make sense of what the author is saying. But if you don't even understand the beginning and if you do not understand it at all, I think it's a red flag for you. You shouldn't continue. In fact, that is the reason why you should skip this particular set and move on to probably some other RC, because unpacking the beginning is the very crucial thing. You know, even if you understand 40% of the remaining paragraph, but you understand 100% of the beginning, your job is done here. So unpack the beginning, that's your principle number 4. I hope you'd remember all these principles and apply them and see the results for yourself. Principle number 5, link to what you have just read. So you are reading the second line, you have to link the second line with the first line. You're reading the third line, you have to link the third line with the second line. And then you have to consider what is the possibility. Is it unexpected? Is it surprising? Is it what I expected? Is it supporting? Is it opposing? Is it answering? Is it asking a question? Why is it important for me to engage myself in these possibilities? Because once I do that, I would understand the flow of the passage. I would understand the structure. I would understand how the author's thought is progressing. So please make sure that you keep this perspective in mind, link to what you have just read, and always try to keep these 3 questions in your mind when you are reading. I'll repeat the questions for you. Is the new sentence expected or surprising? Does it support or oppose earlier material? Does it answer or ask a question? If you manage to get answers to these questions, you are going to make the sense of whole thing. Moving on to principle number 6, which says pay attention to signals. You know, like we pay attention to traffic signals while on the road, pay attention to signals while reading. What are those signals? So first of all, paragraph breaks. Every time a new paragraph is starting, it's very important for you to read the first line, because that is going to tell you a lot about that paragraph. So paragraph breaks are important. They indicate something new. Also pay attention to conjunctions. Conjunctions tell you how this entire thing is coming together. Is it a conclusion? Is it the similar thought? Is it contrast? What is it? Conjunctions are going to tell you. Also pronouns, if linked with their nouns, will also give you an idea of what is the subject matter here. So pay attention, pay close attention to these signals, namely paragraph beginnings, conjunctions and pronouns. And now I will take you to the final principle, which is pick up the pace. You have started slowly, you were trying to unpack the beginning, but after the first paragraph, you can go faster. Because a good reader always knows where to read fast and where to read slow. It's not all about, contrary to the common perception, it's not all about reading fast. You read slow in the beginning, you understand the beginning, and then you start going fast. Because you do not need to be very specific about details. You do not have to be very specific about examples. You can skip those parts. You pay close attention to only these things. I have written them down for you. Beginning of paragraphs, because they always have something new. Big surprises. If something suddenly very different comes up, you have to pay attention to that. And big results. These are the three things that you have to pay importance. Otherwise, you can read fast and make sure that your speed is good. So I sincerely hope that all these 7 principles will be super useful for you. These super tricks are going to make you super ready for your reading comprehension. Do let me know. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a good day.